A summit of the world's most cartoonish military bloc, the CSTO, took place in Moscow. The caricature of the CSTO was especially evident in the infamous Kazakh operation, and in the military campaigns against Armenia and Ukraine. On the issue of Armenia, the CSTO supported Baku's invasions, renouncing its own charter, and in connection with the Ukrainian events, which Moscow proclaimed a special operation to prevent NATO expansion, the CSTO offered NATO cooperation in maintaining peace in Eurasia. The speeches made at the Moscow CSTO summit proceed from the essence of this bloc. For example, Lukashenko proposed turning off the internet in the CSTO area of responsibility. Nikol Pashinyan, chairman of the CSTO, did not lag behind the general trend. He reproached the CSTO for not reacting to Baku's incursions on the sovereign territory of Armenia, and the CSTO countries for supplying weapons to Baku, and immediately thanked Putin for ending the war and once again swore allegiance to the tripartite statements. But this time the leaders of the CSTO countries took pity on Nikola, otherwise they could shrug their shoulders and say, since you are committed to the tripartite statements, then why blame us, and in general, what kind of a sovereign territory of Armenia is this? Of course, the pill is slightly sweetened by the fact that Armenia is chairing the CSTO this year, but this does not change the essence. We are strangers in this coven of authoritarian states. We must pay tribute to Pashinyan. He fully used the opportunity presented to him to point out to the post-Soviet dictators gathered at the table in the Kremlin their cynicism and anti-Armenian policy. Thus, the head of government recalled the lack of reaction of the Allies to the invasion of Azerbaijani troops on the sovereign territory of Armenia, to the arms business of Russia and Belarus with Azerbaijan, which killed Armenian guys in Artsakh and on the border. To be honest, the reaction of the CSTO member states during the 44-day war, after the war, did not inspire Armenia and the Armenian people, Pashinyan clearly stated. In principle, the disappointment of the Armenian leadership with the position of the CSTO is not a new phenomenon. It takes its start from the time of Sargsyan. Let me remind you that during one of the many visits to Yerevan by the then CSTO Secretary-General Nikolai Bordiuzha, whom for some reason many in our country considered a friend of the Armenian people, Sargsyan spoke in a mild form about the fact that the militaristic and Armenophobic statements of official Baku do not find an appropriate response from Armenia's partners in the CSTO. Already in April 2016, when Azerbaijan committed aggression against the Republic of Artsakh, and the CSTO member countries were unable to form a common position and help their ally, albeit a formal one, the Republic of Armenia, the attitude towards the bloc began to change rapidly. Even then, it became clear to many of us that if the Azeri-Turkish tandem attacked, Armenia would be left face to face with them. It was then that in our public, expert, and even political discourse, the demand began to ripen, if not for withdrawal from the CSTO, then at least for revising Yerevan's relations with this bloc. And every year this requirement, for one thing, and criticism, only became tougher. Including, within the walls of the National Assembly, where the opposition represented by the party bloc ELK has repeatedly raised the issue of the country's withdrawal from the EAEU and the CSTO. Therefore, it is not surprising that Nikol Pashinyan came to power promising to withdraw Armenia from the CSTO, explaining to the Armenian society that this organization cannot guarantee the security of Armenia. Which was clearly indicated not only by the April aggravation of the situation in 2016, but also numerous armed incidents on the Armenian-Azerbaijani border. Moreover, for many years this organization has not developed its position on the Armenian-Azerbaijani conflict, limiting itself to routine phrases and non-binding appeals. After the July battles on the border and, moreover, after the 44-day war, it became more than obvious to everyone in Armenia that we, being in the CSTO and the EAEU, found ourselves in splendid isolation and that these organizations, in fact, are only tools to preserve the geopolitical influence of Russia in the post-Soviet space. Unfortunately, despite the obvious futility of Armenia's membership in the CSTO and the EAEU, Nikol Pashinyan was never able to go further than criticizing the organization's inaction. This was not done at the most convenient moment, in the summer-autumn of 2018, on the wave of revolutionary sentiments. It was not done even after the 44-day war. Apparently, our government fears that even a hint at the possibility of withdrawing from the CSTO will lead to a sharp negative reaction from Moscow, which recently seemed to have broken the chain and is ready to bombard the whole world with nuclear weapons. In the case of Armenia, apparently, there is an Artsakh moment. If we talk about the desire to leave the CSTO, the Russians will finally surrender Nagorno-Karabakh to the Azeri Turks. At the same time, looking at Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia, we need to soberly assess our chances for joining NATO. We are not expected there either. Obviously, Pashinyan himself understands all this, who, after criticizing the CSTO, sang a laudatory ode to Putin. Well, let's wait for a more convenient opportunity for an arm exit from the CSTO. In the meantime, the government should focus on internal Armenian priorities, fighting corruption, reviving the economy, attracting investment. After all, the mandate of trust that Pashinyan received last summer can end very quickly. And then the prospect of restoring the power of the former looms. And these puppets of the Kremlin are unlikely to risk cutting the umbilical cord connecting them with Moscow, and leaving the CSTO will have to be forgotten for many years to come.